Hey everybody, welcome back to HomeRecordingMadeEasy.com, and here on my YouTube channel. And this time out, we're going to take a look at yet another one of the new compressors released by Presonus as part of the Fat Channel XT. This time we're going to take a look at the Everest C100A, which is an optical compressor, an LA2A stylish with some extra features to it. We're going to listen to it on some drums, and we're going to listen to it on some guitars, maybe some vocals, some bass, and maybe even a master bus. And you can check it out and hear what it sounds like. But before we get to that, if you like what you see in this video, hit that subscribe button. Also go out to HomeRecordingMadeEasy.com. Get 5 free mixing training courses emailed directly to your inbox just for becoming a VIP member of HomeRecordingMadeEasy.com. Absolutely free, and you'll get other price breaks on all my other training courses. So go to HomeRecordingMadeEasy.com, right on the homepage, hit that big orange button, and get your 5 free courses today, worth about $110. Worth it for you to go sign up and get all that product for free. So now let's jump into Studio One. So here is the Everest C100A. Looks very similar to an LA2A style compressor or a Summit audio compressor. Actually, Summit Audio makes what is the TLA 100, which is their optical compressor, which looks exactly like this. And I like this compressor a lot. I love LA2As. LA2s and LA2As are great. They sound great on a lot of different things. Again, another one of those staple hardware compressors that you would see in any analog studio. You would always see an LA2 or an LA2A or a couple or pairings of them. This compressor sounds very, very similar to that because it's an optical style compressor, but it's got a couple extra features. So let's take a walk through the plugin and see what we have here. It's a real simple to use. It's a compression simplified, if you will. So over here on the left-hand side, we have our big LED light to tell you whether it's on or off. We have our attack where you can do slow and fast. And I believe in the middle position, it would be a medium attack, although it doesn't say that, but I believe that's true. We have our release slow and fast. And again, I think in the middle position, it'll be medium. That would only make sense, right? And then over here, we have our gain, makeup gain knob. Okay, in the center we have our metering, and then underneath it we can turn the plug-in on and off, and that will turn the LED light over in the top left-hand corner on and off. Pretty straightforward. And then we have our gain reduction. Okay, so this is the amount of compression you want to dial in, and this will make up the gain, will make up the volume loss that you get from doing some compression. And then as always on all the Presonus compressors, they have this key filter, which is kind of like a high pass filter. So if you want to roll off some of that low end so it doesn't over trigger the compressor, things like bass and drum buses and stuff like that, you can do that. That's a unique feature that's not part of the original hardware. So it's a simple compressor to use. I love the fact that you have the different attack times and different release times. Now, if you have a real LA2A, let's say by Universal Audio plugins, you'll know that the LA2A collection, they come with 3 different versions of the LA2A or the LA2, and the differences between those 3 are typically the predetermined attack and release time. So like the LA2, for example, the first one from Universal Audio, that has a very slow attack, whereas the LA2A, the gray face, they call it, would have more of a medium style, and the silver face would have a fast attack. You have that all built into one plugin here, which is really cool. You don't need to have 3 separate plugins. So let's listen to this on drum bus. I got some drum bus here, some drums happening. And let's see what we got here. So we're going to start off with a slow attack on a drum bus, maybe a fast release. Let's kick it on here. Let's go ahead and get a little gain reduction happening. We'll turn up a little makeup gain. Let's level match the plug-in a little bit. We'll turn down some of that gain. It's before. After. Adds a little bit of punch. You can hear the cymbals get a little bit brighter, but again, it's nice and smooth. What's great about optical compressors and like the LA2A-ish style is they're very smooth, and you can really crank up that gain reduction, and you don't get that massive pump and breathing effect, and it just sounds smooth and never sounds harsh, which I really like. Now we can also use this key filter here, maybe dial up some of those lows here. You can push the compressor a little bit more maybe. And so we're doing about 4 to 5 dB of compression. Again, nice and smooth, gets a little bit of punch to it. Again, not something typically that I would use on a drum bus in LA2A style, but this sounds really, really good. And again, not that it's copying the LA2A exactly, or even the Summit one. It's, you know, it's they're modeling their own hardware here, but it sounds very similar. It has that LA2A-ish sound. And if you want that kind of sound, and again, it's another great tool to have in your compressor toolbox, as we talked about in some of the prior videos. This has a unique sound that no other compressor has. And it sounds wonderful on a lot of things. It's hard to make this compressor sound bad. Anything you put through it sounds good. So that's a drum bus. Now let's listen to some bass. I use LA2A style compressors on bass a lot. So let's see what it does to bass. I'll turn down the drums a little bit, but I'll keep it in play here. Okay, here's our bass. So let's do more of a slow release on this, and then we'll do more of a fast attack, because it's kind of a percussive kind of a bass track. And then I'll mess around with the attack time here so you can see and hear the difference. Let's push it a bit here too. Before. So instantly I can hear, and hopefully you can hear this over YouTube. And by the way, you want to be listening to this on a good set of studio monitors or good cans. On a small earbuds and those kinds of things, you won't hear the difference, especially in bass. But instantly I hear the fingers come out more of the high end of that bass. It cuts through the mix a little bit more. It gets a little bit brighter, and the bottom end gets really tight, which is really nice. And we're doing about 8 dB of compression here. Nice. Let's play with the attack time. Let's go to a slow attack and just see what happens. Turn down that plug-in a little bit. Kind of like the slow attack a little bit better on bass. Usually it would be a little bit faster. That sounds really good. And again, you always want to make sure that you level match the plugin, meaning the before and after, when you turn it on, turn it off. The overall volume ought to be about the same. Be careful that you don't just crank up the gain and make it sound louder, because it kind of tricks your ears and your brain into thinking louder sounds better. So we call that level matching the plugin, if you didn't know that. So you always want to try to do that. So we're really listening for the tone. Yes, we're listening for the compression. We're listening for the notes to not poke out as much, because we're doing about 7, 8 dB of compression. But what we're really listening for, and what this compressor is known for, is tone, and how it makes things sound nice and warm and thick, but not muddy. And again, the fingers come out a little bit more on the bass on this. That cuts through the mix a little bit more. Now I'll bring the drums back in a little bit more and kind of mix the drums and bass together so you can hear how it helps cut through the drums, and it'll stand out in the mix more. Let it cycle around here. It's before. Sounds really great on bass. So let's go ahead and let's now listen to this on maybe a little bit of guitars. We have a little bit of a funky kind of a chicka chicka guitar happening here. Let's listen. Let's collapse this here. Okay, let's listen to this on a little bit of guitar. Okay, we're gonna go with a kind of a fast attack on this, because we got kind of a strumming pattern happening here. And we're going to go on a fast release here, and let's just crank up some gain reduction. Let's see what we got here. So what it's doing on this part of the guitar, what I hear is this kind of chicka 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 chicka. It really smooths it out and evens out that performance, which on that kind of guitar playing, you'll hear, if without any compression, you'll hear lots of sections kind of popping out a little too much and it's a little disjointed. This kind of glues it together and keeps it nice and tight in the pocket, which is really good. Sounds great. And also, it doesn't sound compressed, meaning that it just sounds natural. You know, again, a lot of times when plug-in manufacturers or, you know, that don't do a really good job of trying to do analog hardware emulation, there's two things that are kind of the telltale sign of it. Number one is that they always overhype the plugin, meaning that as soon as you put the plugin on and dial anything, and all of a sudden it's this wild difference in audio audible. You can hear it instantly. And that's usually because, especially with compressors, a lot of beginners and intermediates have a hard time hearing compression. And these plugin manufacturers want you to hear the results instantly. But really the hardware, when done properly, the plugin emulations, the hardware in most cases, and again, this is a general statement across at least all the more popular things that you know of, like LA2As and those things, the audible difference is subtle, especially on individual tracks. Once you have a fine-tuned earring, you can pick it out right away. It sounds like there's a big difference, but to the average person or someone who's still learning how to listen for compression, it's a little more subtle, and it's supposed to be. It's not overhyped. That's the first thing that I can tell that Presonus has done a great job on these thus far, all the compressors that I've reviewed. They don't overhype them. They sound natural. They don't sound like you just took a compressor and squished the life out of it. Now, if you push this thing hard enough, you'll get some of that, and sometimes that's desirable. But in a lot of cases, that's not really the case. You're just looking to compress in small doses and kind of tighten things up, and that's what this does. And this sounds just like an LA2A compressor. It sounds just like it. Got that LA2A flavor. Sounds really, really good. They did a nice job on this one for sure. We'll take a look at maybe a little bit of vocals here. Now, again, this is a raw track. None of this stuff has been mixed. Okay, you can see there's no other plugins anywhere on this stuff. Let's just listen to it on a lead vocal, because that's where another place where you would stick an LA2A style compressor, you'd stick it on a vocal, right? And so this has not been EQ'd. It's nothing. It's just, you know, raw audio at its finest. So let's take a listen.
So sweet, Daddy G's gonna ring you up.
Let's do the lead vocal here.
Daddy G's gonna sit you down. Daddy G's gonna ring you up, yeah. Daddy G's gonna sit you down and sing it for me, baby. Daddy G's gonna ring you up, ooh, yeah. Daddy G's gonna sit you down, yeah. Daddy G's gonna ring you up, yeah. Daddy G's gonna sit you down. Daddy G's gonna ring you up. Daddy G's gonna sit you down. Daddy G's gonna ring you up, yeah. Daddy G's gonna sit you down and sing it for me, baby. Daddy G's gonna ring you up, ooh, yeah. Daddy G's gonna sit you down, yeah. Daddy G's gonna ring you up, yeah.
I'm going to slow up the release a little bit here and see what we
Daddy
can
G's
do.
gonna sit you down. Ring you up. Daddy G's gonna sit you down. Daddy G's gonna ring you up, yeah. Daddy G's gonna sit you down and sing it for me, baby.
Before?
Daddy G's gonna ring you up, ooh, yeah. Daddy G's gonna sit you down, yeah. Daddy G's gonna ring you up, yeah. Daddy G's gonna sit you down.
Adds a lot of warmth to that vocal, and again, it takes some, I mean, this is a dynamic vocal. You can hear the word up, you know, gonna bring you up, and it really pops out quite a bit. This is a band that was recorded live in the studio all at the same time, so there's a little bit more performance there. He's not really working the mic as well as he would if he was in a controlled, you know, vocal booth and that kind of thing. So there's a little bit more dynamics there, which is a good test for this kind of compressor. How well can it tame it without sounding that it's really crushing it, but still leave some of that, you know, retains a lot of some of the dynamics. And this does that. And we're pushing almost 10 dB of compression here. Sounds really good. So this is a wonderful compressor. Again, on things like bass, vocals, even drums we listen to it on, and guitars, it really does a nice job. And again, I think the modeling capabilities that PreSonus has showed for these analog pieces of hardware. Again, I've said this in my other videos, and I'll say it again in case you haven't seen the other ones yet. That they're the first DAW company that I'm aware of that has really jumped into this end of the market at the rate that they're doing it at. Meaning they're the first company with a DAW that makes their own DAW that, has really gone in now and have really done a lot of these analogs plugin emulations. Other DAW companies have done some one-off plugins, and some of them are okay and some of them not so much. But I got to say, everything that I've reviewed so far sounds really good. And I always, in my mind, compare them to like the Universal Audio versions of them or the Slate Digital versions or even the Waves versions, because I have all those plugins and I've used them for years and I know them very, very well. So it's easy for me to listen to this kind of a plugin and say, how does it stack up to the other, stuff that are in a lot of cases far more expensive plugins, especially UA. And I will say that, again, although UA doesn't make the Summit Audio one, they make LA2As, and this is an optical compressor, it sounds just as good as any of the other ones that I own. It's got its own flavor to it, and that's what's great about it. And I really like it. And again, I think they've done a great job. Now, these are paid plugins, right? This is part of a package that you can buy at presonus.com. I think you can buy the entire package and again, I don't like to quote prices depending on when you're watching this video, but it works out to be, if you buy the whole bundle, like 14 plugins, it works out to be about $25 or $30 a plugin, which is super affordable. And you get a whole host of compressors and EQs. There are videos, or will be videos, for all of those on my YouTube channel. Make sure you go check out the playlist, plugin reviews, and you will see them all. So I hope you found this video helpful and you found it enjoyable. Thank you for joining me for the Everest C100A by PreSonus, part of the Fat Channel XT. Oh, and last but not least, if you have a Series 3 mixer, Studio Live Series 3 mixer, when you buy the bundle, you can not only use them in Studio One for mixing like we're doing here, but you also can use them as part of, inside of the board, for when you're working out in a club and you're mixing a live performance. You can have all these analog pieces of hardware in plug-in format on the Studio Live, and you can record and track in a live situation in real time with no latency, which is fantastic. So that's the other added benefit to this. If you're part of the PreSonus ecosystem and you have a Studio Live and you have Studio One, you get kind of that double duty where you're not just using it for mixing, but you can also use it for recording, whether it's in your studio or out in a live club or a bar or whatever with your bands. And that is what really makes this powerful. And again, fantastic. PreSonus done a great job on this. Check it out today. And I will see you guys in the next video. Join me again and we will take a look at some other Fat Channel XT plugins. My name's been Dave with HomeRecordingMadeEasy.com, and I will see you around in the next video. Take care.